From Wall Street to the White House, this is the Larry Kudlow Show.
So, Mike Johnson reelected as Speaker. Now the question is, what next? So we bring in my pal Dan Clifton, partner and head of policy research for Strategas Research Partners. Dan's the best Washington watcher Wall Street has. Dan, thanks for doing this, my friend. Let's talk about, I have been crusading on the air.
Yep.
A certain senior official in the Trump administration has said to me he wants one big, beautiful bill. And I say, put it all in there. They're not going to get 2 reconciliations or 3 reconciliations. Anyway, you cover this beat better than anybody. What's happening here? Tell us about this story.
Yeah, well, first, Larry, good morning. Thank you for having me on. And I love learning from you. So you're a real leader on this issue. And I think you're 100% right on the one bill strategy.
Yeah.
I've worked on every tax bill for the last 25 years in Washington. And I will tell you that you got one shot to move and get your policy agenda passed, and the economic growth from that, you take it at once. If you remember, Trump did a 2 reconciliation strategy when he came into office in his first term. They opened up a reconciliation window for health care. They spent 6 to 7 months wasting time on that, and then had to pivot towards tax reform in the back half of 2017. And while we were very successful in getting a tax bill done in 2017, we could have got it done much quicker with more momentum in place. And my sense here is that you're only going to have one shot at reconciliation because you have a more divided House of Representatives today. You see it on the Speaker vote. You see it on the CR in December. Now you got one chance. You got a divided Congress. You got a very small majority. You open up the reconciliation window, and it's going to take 3 or 4 months to get everybody on board with the exact provisions, but then you get the growth effects from that. And that's the key issue for President Trump coming in, to show how bad the country's shape was in economically and that he could make it better. And I think Congress needs to prove those results. And so by doing this, you're able to get border security, you're able to get energy security, and you're able to get tax growth all at the same time. And that's those supply side tax and regulatory changes that are going to need to be able to drive real economic growth in this country.
Yeah, I mean, I say to these fellas, come on the show, senators, House members, I want a blue collar boom, and I want it to start this year.
Yes.
And of course, it'll ricochet into next year, the election year, whereas, as you point out, in 2017, first of all, it was a Hail Mary Doug Flutie pass to the end zone.
Absolutely.
The last day of the year, practically. And yes, they caught it for a touchdown, but you can't. This is even worse now. I mean, the leading indicators are that what happened with the CR and what happened with the speakership, right? There's virtually no margin. So how the heck are you going to get all these, herd the cats into 2? I mean, I hear people talking about 3 bills. You're crazy. Exactly. Yeah. But the other thing is, promises made, promises kept, Dan Clifton. So Mr. Trump campaigned on tax cuts and border security, all right?
Yep.
Yes, he also campaigned on fossil fuels and energy. I get that. But I'm saying the biggest thing was the economy and the border. So let's get with it. Don't wait. Go right now.
I completely agree. And when we started to look last year at what a potential Trump administration would look like in terms of policy, we basically broke it into 2 categories. The first category is, what can Trump do by executive order? And second, what can he do by legislation? He has enormous tools to be able to effectuate change on January 20th. And this is important because people are saying, we need to do a bill now. We need to do it immediately for one reconciliation. I'm saying, you don't need to do that. The president has the authority to shut the border down on the day he gets inaugurated, and I think he will. He has the ability to get rid of these climate rules on LNG export terminals that first week. And when he does that, you're going to see a whole bunch of investment coming in to build these massive LNG export facilities. And I think what's underappreciated is just the geopolitics improving the economy as he moves to get peace in Ukraine, in the Middle East, those are all going to affect the oil markets. They're all going to affect different parts of the economy. And while that's happening, we can have one reconciliation bill moving through Congress that takes those executive orders and puts a better footing on them by getting the funds there for more detention centers that they're going to need as they start to think about how to close down the border more, or more incentives for drilling inside the United States or offshore drilling. So the strategy is comprehensive here. The key to it is you got one shot on the legislative front. Get it done, and get it done by April, May, June, when you're going to need it. And I would remind you, Larry, is that both Lee Stefanik, who's going to be UN representative, she will no longer be there. Representative Waltz is now going to be National Security Advisor, so he's no longer going to be there. That margin is going to shrink after January 20th, which leaves them with a smaller margin. And we're not going to get to see those special elections until April or May.
Right.
So you got to be very, very careful on how you take those steps. You do not want to fail out of the gate. But if you succeed, promises made, promises kept, strong, sustainable economic growth from now through 2026.
Just to backstep a moment, you make an interesting point. If Trump moves quickly to make a deal, let's say with Russia, Ukraine, start there.
Yep.
I'll bet you there's a war premium on the price of oil. Right? So it's hovering around $70, $75 Brent crude, got over 100 at one point. I don't know what that premium is, but it could be 10 or 20 bucks.
Yep.
And that bring down gasoline prices. That'll stimulate the economy right away without firing a shot and without any bills. I mean, that's a very interesting point, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. I look at it. We have less margin in this country to expand domestic production because we've been already producing at very high levels. And so I think you get some of it, okay? And I definitely think there are going to be other types of energy like nuclear and natural gas that could be expanded here. But the gains in oil are going to come from geopolitics. And what I think incoming President Trump is trying to achieve is being able to get some sort of ceasefire in Israel or in the Middle East, and then be able to finish the Abraham Accords that were short-circuited when he lost, and be able to get a normalization of relations between the Saudis and Israel. That, to me, is a massive event for the oil markets if we're going to see something like that through, right? So
Saudis are withholding production right now. They're withholding production.
Right.
And so they might loosen up. Yeah, you're right. That's right.
They loosen up.
That's
exactly.
right.
And you know what else? They're going to want more weapon sales because they're going to want a strong defense, right? So now you're starting to see the strategy, because at the end of the day, what I think is going to happen here in the United States is going to be massive manufacturing and investment in the United States and building up our defense capabilities, given the rising geopolitical threat to the United States. This is an amazing event. We need pro-growth tax cuts, though, to lower the cost of capital and to lead to that new investment. And that's where that tax bill fits in there. And if you get that by mid-year, look out below. We're going to see a very, very strong economy for the next couple of years and a rebuilding of America's manufacturing boom.
That's a
blue-collar boom, as you call it.
Yeah, the defense industrial base would be helped by a 15% corporate tax rate.
Exactly.
We really help them a lot. And then you get a lot of new hires. That's blue-collar boom stuff, right there, I think. Right? People got to put this stuff together, the airplanes, the ships, whatever, and profits will go up and real wages will go up. So that's I mean, don't wait for it. Do it now.
Do it now. And I would just take one step back, because something that you have championed for a very long time is 100% capital expensing.
Yeah, right.
That 100% has been declining over the last few years. Just getting the 100% expensing starts off the profit. If you do a 15% corporate tax rate plus 100% expensing, man, look out below. It's coming for it. And so we have that opportunity for this really big supply side growth here. Why are we going to try and get too clever by half and do 3 reconciliation bills? Let's put it in one big, beautiful bill, as you like to talk about it. Well, get it done and get America back on course.
That phrase is originally emanated from a very senior Trump administration person. I'll just call it a very senior official who told that to me in a phone call a couple of weeks ago, and I've carried that. But I think the House is having a conference this weekend.
That's right,
to talk about one bill. I mean, I think Johnson agrees with us.
Yeah, I think there was a bit of non-committal. I mean, you're trying to herd 218 votes yesterday.
Yeah.
You're trying to get everybody on board. Focus on what's important.
Yeah.
Getting a speaker done yesterday was critical.
Yeah.
And now you can certify the Trump election. You can start building the agenda. You can feel the collective sigh of relief yesterday afternoon when this was cleared. So now they need to be focused.
Save the agenda. I got to get out. You're right, though. Save the agenda. Dan Clifton, the top Washington watcher on Wall Street, Strategas Research Partners. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it very much. Folks, quick break, and then we're going to talk to Alex Gray, former national security staffer, about why Panama and Greenland are part of American core interests.
Larry Kudlow.